Good evening and welcome to Cavan TV News and Views. I'd like to say thank you to Positive 8 for the use of the studio here in Drummondlea. Well, no stranger to us here in Cavan TV is Michael Loughman. The great work Michael has done for Sleep Out, the organisation which he set up himself to help homeless people in Cavan and indeed all over Ireland. I'd like to say welcome this evening to Michael.
Thank you, Anna.
And also to Airyn Gustine. And Airyn, you are the Centre Manager of Sleep Out Cavan, which of course is on the grounds of St. Pat's in Cavan. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Michael, you set up Sleep Out Cavan in 2014. How did that start?
As I say, I met a guy in Dublin who was homeless, and the only clothing he had was an overcoat, trousers and a pair of shoes. He had nothing underneath it, and I decided then that I would start bringing up clothes up when I was going shopping.
Where did you get these clothes now in the beginning?
They were my own and the wife's or the children's, whatever we could come across. And then neighbours start giving us stuff. And it built up so big that we eventually had to contact one of the charities in Dublin to supply a van down once a month with clothing, so we could fill the van once a month and send it up.
You have a fantastic setup there in Cavan, of which Airyn is the manager, and he's told me you do a great job. You make it look fantastic in there. And it's gone from strength to strength, Michael. And indeed, I remember you organised sleep outs outside the library in Cavan.
Yes, we did.
To make people aware of what it's like to sleep a night out on the street.
Yeah, people were always saying to me, what's it like to sleep on the streets of Dublin? Because I've slept with the homeless on the streets. I've been there and done that. And they wanted to do it. They said, next time you're going up, I'll come with you. And I said, no, it's too dangerous. So we decided then that we would do a sleep out in the town at the library. And we did, and over 200 people turned up for it that night. A great night.
I say I was there for the best part of one night. I didn't stay the whole night, of course. But it was very atmospheric, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was a great atmosphere there.
And there was food and they had a bit of music as well. Of course, it was nothing like what is like sleeping out on a street, but at least people got to know, well, you have to sleep on the hard ground for like 7 or 8 hours. Like, it ain't easy. Michael, again, I want to get back to your work, and we'll talk about the work that you do as well, Airyn, in the centre. As you say, your work grew from strength to strength. Now, you've set up a shop now, really is a shop now, where you've got so much stuff now, donations of everything, new, old, recycled, everything. And it's a shop for people to go in there and they can buy stuff. But apart from that, what do? You do much more than that. You do much more than that. The Gardaí have you on a speed dial.
A speed dial. When we originally set it up, it was to supply homeless people with clothing in Dublin. At that time, there was very few homeless people outside of Dublin. They were all going in there because of the services. And we discovered then, after being going for a while, that an organisation called Chocoskill were working with social workers, and they needed clothing for children and families who were in need of help or whatever. So we started supplying clothes to them, and that's where the shop came in then. We decided what we would do to raise funds for our rent and insurance and all of that. We'd donate €5 to the shop, and you could pick whatever you wanted. It was the deal we had going at the time. But now you can buy anything in the place for €5, from a 3-piece suit to a wedding dress even. There's one there for the last few months. It's gone now to Dublin, but you can brand new shoes and second-hand good shoes, good quality stuff. You know.
That's where I'll bring Airyn in there. Airyn, tell us the kind of stuff you have in the shop.
Actually, we have coats, we have hoodies, tracksuit bottoms, we have jeans for ladies, for men, and shirts, skirts, everything you need for summertime as well. Everything is set up. Anybody needs, they can come to us and get us like donation €5 for children as well, brand new stuff. So we have everything there, even handbags and slippers and whatever.
Yeah, I've actually been to your shop. And, your stuff is brand new, some of it. Like, one amazing thing you pointed out to me was when people go to weddings and they leave hotels after weddings, they leave all these clothes behind them, jackets, shoes, everything left behind in hotels, and they donate that to you.
It originally started with the Radisson. when the Radisson was changing hands that time, they had a load of soap and shampoos and stuff with the Radisson name, and they couldn't give it to a charity to be sold. So we took it on, and we gave it to the homeless in Dublin. And they decided then that they would give us their lost property, and the Kilmore came on board, and the Crystal Hotel came on board for us, and that's where we get all our stuff from now.
And of course, you get some from. You've got stuff from shops as well.
Oh, donations from shops and.
Shops. Yeah. But Michael, you know, apart from the work that the shop then in turn makes money, puts money back into Sleep Out Cavan. And you're going to tell me your work, it covers a variety of stuff. I was joking that you're on a speed dial to the Gardaí, but you say you're contacted them nearly every night.
Nearly every night. When we set it up originally, it was just to help homeless people, and we decided that if one did arrive in town or somebody was made homeless at night, that we would pay for a B&B for them to put them up and maybe get them sorted with the council the next day. It's just to get them off the street, because sometimes if a person goes on the street, maybe only one night, and they can get into serious trouble on the streets. You know, people, violence, and there's drugs and drink being offered free to take. You know,
random attacks.
Random attacks, and so it was to protect anybody that might be put out of a house or whatever at night time. You know, and it developed on from there. Now, as you say, the guards ring us now most nights of the week, and somebody has either come into the station presenting as homeless, or they've come across them out on this road somewhere along the line, you know, when they're patrolling around.
You give me a very valued piece of information today, and I actually heard it earlier on the radio on Joe Duffy's programme. If somebody's actually homeless, they go to the Garda station and present themselves there. That's the route to go. They don't go directly to an organisation like you.
No. Because you need to protect the organisations. Not anybody ringing up and scamming the night in a room. Or,
opportunists.
Taking a chance on it. So most people will generally go into the Garda stations and present themselves as homeless, you know. So it protects us.
And again, even more so than ever, your work is now, your charity work is now needed. We have got Ukrainian refugees, displaced people in Ireland, and we have them in Cavan as well, and you've helped out there as well.
Yeah, we have, sure. We've dealt with 23 of them so far, families, giving them clothes, giving them food. We helped pay for a fridge the other day for one lady who's moving into a room or a house where she had nothing in it. So we paid for the fridge and that type of thing, you know. But our biggest development lately is domestic violence. Domestic violence in Ireland at the moment is a big thing, very big thing, and there's talk of a hostel going up between Monaghan and Cavan. Yeah,
I was just going to say that. But counties Cavan, Monaghan do not have
there's 9 counties have no hostel.
Have no refuge for any, you know, either for a man in domestic violence or a woman in domestic
At the moment,
abuse.
if you're unfortunate to be in that situation at night time, the guards are called. The guards will arrive to the house, and if it's the lady who has to come out of the house, she either goes into the Garda station for the night to sit on a bench, or she's into a squad car or taxi to Dundalk or Drogheda. They're the 2 closest places. There is one in Navan, but it's ladies only. And it's very hard to get a bed in most of them. The story at the moment is they are going to do one with 8 beds in either Cavan or Monaghan. 8 beds for 2 counties is not enough.
Supported by the government? Or
the government are going to open up hostels in these counties. But 8 beds between Cavan and Monaghan is not enough. You would want 8 beds in Cavan alone. Like some weekends, it's serious what's going on.
You have to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, it's to save them that journey. They have to explain to a guard what's happened to them, right? What's gone on in the house or the home that night. Then they're packed into a car and sent off down to Drogheda or wherever. Then they probably have to go through the whole thing again, explain this. Whereas we can put them up in a bed and breakfast at night. We just tell them where it is, we pay for it, and they go and stay there.
And this is the money you get from your shop?
From the shop. That's what that pays for. It pays for...
You have bed and breakfast and maybe a hotel in town.
Last year, and just grab this for a sec, some figures I jotted down for you. Accommodation last year, 21. We done 41 accommodation requests last year.
That's 41 nights.
41 nights. People were put up in accommodation. This year at the moment we're up to 16 so far this year. That will tell you the increases are there. Food appeal 62 last year. We're on 7 at the moment. That's people bringing in our guards, social workers looking for clothing. We've done 255 last year. Clothing appeals. That was people coming in looking for clothing. We're on 48 at the moment. You know. Yeah. So the numbers are creeping up and big time on that. On the street of Cavan at the moment we have 3. That's what we have on the streets of Cavan at the moment, sleeping rough.
There have been warnings of people, opportunists.
Yes, there is.
Out on the streets.
Out on the streets.
How do people know that this person is
It's very hard to tell. The easiest thing to do is don't give them money.
It sounds a bit tough love there now. Don't give them money.
Yeah, but if they are homeless and more than likely they're addicts in drugs or drink, that's where the money will go. So you're only feeding their habit. You know, they're not being fed, they're just feeding a habit. That's all.
So if you see somebody sleeping at the post office, as I've seen myself, do you offer them a bed for the night? We
have done, yes. And some of them have refused it. Some of them just don't trust the system either, you know. Yeah. And then there is the boys that just want the money.
Michael, I can't let you go. I want to ask you, and we won't get too political about it, but why? Just explain in a nutshell why we're having a homeless crisis at the moment.
Because they've turned it into a business. If they have people on the streets or people who are homeless, it means they need property to put them into. If they don't build...
When you say they, you're talking about the government of the day.
The government. Yeah. They get the landlords to house them, which means the government is paying most of the rent. So it's a business. They've turned it into a business. They gave millions to the hotels last year for homeless people.
Cavan Crystal has got many...
I believe it's 40 in there at the moment, but that's a situation where these people are running from a war, you know. They have to be accommodated somewhere.
They have to be, yeah.
But again, it's 3 months in a room. It's not nice, you know.
Yeah. So... if that's the problem, then there's nothing been done about it at the moment for the future.
No. Everybody can see that. They're building a few houses, but not enough, and most of them are privately built.
And then we have the rent. The
rents are sky high.
Like just listening to Joe Duffy today, like horrific stories for people, like ordinary people who rented property. All of a sudden, they're turfed out by their landlords. And they can't get renting anywhere else. Sleeping in cars, sleeping on beds, surfing on beds. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's serious. Like, they're talking up on 2,000 a month in Dublin. It's madness.
In this day and age. Michael, you emailed us some photographs.
Some photographs, is right.
Yes, and maybe you talk us through them there when they come up on screen.
This picture was taken, the one on the street was a homeless man in Dublin. This one here is Tony Walsh. He's the founder of Feed Our Homeless, the charity we work with in Dublin. And Tony drove the van down that day to pick up some clothes from us.
Okay.
This photograph here is our team. You have Shane O'Loughlin, you have Thomas Mooney, myself, and Hector was there. He was down with us for the week with the community fund.
And you will be...
Thomas and Airyn loading the van up again with bags of... Last year we done 2,000 bags to Dublin. We're on 1,110 this year so far.
And this is your logo now. Tell us about that.
That's done by a local artist. It's a picture we use. It's somebody giving a helping hand to somebody that's down and out, down on the ground, and they're bad luck or whatever, helping them up. And that's the way we look at ourselves. We're there to help people up, regardless of who they are. Don't look down on anybody unless you are helping them up.
Very good.
That's the motto we have. This one here is for the Ukraine appeal. When they said there was refugees coming into the country, we knew they'd need clothing, so we set up this working with Ukraine.
Do you find now after the lockdown and you know our cost of living is rising now and everything, are people still as generous as they always are?
Oh, they are, yeah, even more so.
Good.
Even more so.
That's good to know.
The Ukrainians will tell you when they're in with us, they can't believe how kind and friendly the Irish people are.
That's good.
You know, they didn't realise how generous we are. Everybody wants to help them.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as it's kept that way and don't change things around, you know, that people turn against them or whatever. But Yeah, we've helped a lot now over the years.
Yeah. And Airyn, as part of your work in the centre is you make everything look really nice in the centre. It's not what she does, Michael. But apart,
Airyn put the feminine touch to it.
yes, I was trying to say that.
Yes.
So we're working together. We're sorting bags.
And I must say, I like your jackets with the logos on them, the Sleep Out Cavan. Michael, little did you think in 2014 that you were starting something really big. Little did you think it would be so needed either.
No, didn't think so.
That's
Didn't think
amazing,
we'd
isn't it?
ever go this far, you
Yeah.
know, that it would end up like this. And
Now, do you get... Yeah, sorry, go
we've
ahead.
had Meath County Council down with us lately,
To see your
looking at
operation.
the operation to see how it was set up and how it's run.
Amazing.
Because there's a councillor there, Alan Laws, and they're thinking of setting up the same thing, because it's not just for homeless people. We had a situation where two men got off at the bus in town to go to the bathroom late at night, and when they came back out, the bus had gone.
Right.
Now, they went to the station and they asked the station, could they send out a squad car after them to stop the bus maybe and get them on it? But they had no one available at the time. So they rang us and said, any chance? So we put the two lads up for the night just to get them off of the street. And a friend of theirs came down from Donegal the next morning and picked them up.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so it's
That's a
not
great
just,
start. Yeah.
it's for anybody
That's
that is in trouble
that was
at
a happy
night.
story, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a happy story.
it's not all just...
And of course, Michael, as you say as well, you alluded to it there, Cavan, I would like to say, would be a pretty safe town at night time, but like there would be some places would not be safe. Like
No.
you're going to have random attacks, people on drugs spaced out, causing trouble and everything. Like Cavan isn't like that. Well, I don't think it is, but I
Any
hope
town
not.
in Ireland is not a nice place to be at night
No.
on your own.
Yeah, with nowhere
Because
to
you're
go.
vulnerable and, people will use that opportunity to maybe attack you or something. So we try and get them off the street that night and hopefully then keep them off the street, you know.
Well, fair play to you, Michael, and to yourself, Airyn, for the great work that you do. It's voluntary. Your work is
Totally voluntary, yeah.
It's voluntary. Do you get any help from financial help from anybody?
We get donations from different companies at Christmas especially, but nearly all year round, you get people donating money, and the shop funds most of it. And that's the beauty of the place is that if you're talking about these hostels costing a fortune to run, we run it from the shop and it works out brilliant for us. It's self-sufficient. The money made in the shop pays
And yet you're only selling each item at a £5.
at a fiver.
It goes to show you it can be done, doesn't it?
It can be done, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
But
we
great
can
work.
come to a lot of people's help at night time.
Yeah, and you have a fantastic setup out there in St. Pat's, and it came a long way from your sitting room.
It did, surely. The thing was, she said to me one day, she says, the back extension to the house was full of boxes ready for the van to come. And she says, them boxes have to go or you have to go.
Right. So you'll be homeless then.
I was going to be homeless.
Oh, that's not a good
But
joke.
it was unbelievable what
Yeah.
started at a little small plastic bag with maybe a shirt and a jumper in it, a pair of shoes maybe, to 2,000 bags in a year.
One last question, Michael. And Airyn, how many times do you send a van to Dublin? Do you do it regularly, or do you do it just as you have the stuff gathered?
Whenever we have anywhere to 60 bags, once we hit the 60 mark, we ring Dublin.
You
We know
transport
then
it.
they'll get the transport ready. It'll take a day or two. So on average, it's 70 to 80 bags each time they come down, and they could come down 3-4 times a month. Depending on what we have. Like, it's slow now this month. You can get that. People are on holidays, they're starting to get out and about more,
Yeah.
During COVID, we were big, people were calling to us every day because they were locked down and they couldn't get into shops to get clothes or shoes for their kids, and they were coming into us to get stuff.
Right.
And it was brilliant for us,
Yeah.
because we'd done our best at that time during the COVID. But in the last while now, it's been very busy, especially with the Ukrainians coming in now.
Yeah,
It's
so you-
really good to us.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Michael, and to Airyn for the great work you do. It's a brilliant initiative, and Sleep Out Cavan has gone from strength to strength. It's sad to say it's needed.
It
but
is,
well done.
but there's an education to it. Because we do a lot of talks in schools and clubs and men's sheds and hen sheds and all of them places, We go in and talk about how homeless happens, what can be done and how to avoid drugs and whatever else.
Yeah.
So
the education part.
The education part of it is there as well. So that's it's good to get into the schools. The lad you see there in the photograph is only 15, Thomas. He volunteered with us from St. Pat's College. So it's good experience for him, you know, to see the other side of life, not just being a little bubble hidden away.
Yeah. So one last thing, Michael, if anybody out there sees this and they say, and by the way, it's not a skip. You give things that you know somebody else can use and is good enough for somebody else to use. You'd like to say that as well. If anybody out there is saying, I've got plenty of stuff now that I don't use anymore, how do they get it to you?
Well, they can contact us on our page at Sleep Out Cavan, or email. My email address is lochmanmichael1@gmail.com, or you can ring
Call out to the centre,
or you can just ring the number and we'll give you details. It's all on our page on Google Maps as well, so it's all there, you know, all available.
Okay.
There's a list of stuff that we take, so.
Right. Well done. I'd like to say thanks once again to Airyn and to Michael for coming into the studio, and once again a heartfelt thanks for the great work that you do. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming into Cavan TV this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.